Jeremy Clarkson has owned some of the wildest cars on the planet. British classics, high-performance beasts, and even a few questionable choices. Some he cherished, others not so much. So, which cars did he hold on to with pride, and which ones made him regret every penny? Let's dive into his insane collection and uncover the stories behind his most legendary rides. Alright, let's start this tour with a car that's not just in Clarkson's collection, it's in his DNA. The 1969 Ford Cortina Mark II 1600E. This wasn't just any car, it was his first ever ride. And you know what they say, you never forget your first. Now, was it a supercar? Nope. Did it have ridiculous horsepower? Not really. But for young Clarkson, this thing was everything. It had a 1.6-liter 4-cylinder engine pushing out 80 horsepower. That won't exactly throw you back in your seat, but hey, it got the job done. 0 to 100 kilometers per hour, 13.6 seconds. Quarter mile, 19.1 seconds. Well, it's not a rocket, but back then, it wasn't about speed, it was about style. And Clarkson was obsessed. His parents drove a Ford Cortina, so he pretty much grew up in one. Road trips, school runs, probably even a few bad driving lessons, all in a Cortina. So, when it was time to get his own car, what did he do? Bought one, of course. Not because he compared specs or weighed options, but because that's just what he knew. Now, this isn't just another Ford GT. This is a 2005 GT, a car built to honor the legendary GT40 while making it even more thrilling for the modern era. And Clarkson, he just couldn't resist. Clarkson had always dreamed of driving the original GT40, but there was one major problem. He was too tall to fit inside. Finally getting his hands on his dream car, only to realize he needed to shrink a few inches to drive it, wasn't exactly ideal. So when Ford introduced the 2005 GT, a modern version of the race-winning icon, Clarkson didn't hesitate. He had to have it. This beast packed a 5.4-liter supercharged V8, delivering a staggering 550 horsepower and 678 newton meters of torque. That meant it could rocket from 0 to 97 kilometers per hour in just 3.7 seconds, making it one of the quickest road cars Ford had ever built. But despite its brilliance, Clarkson let it go. Not because of the power, not because of the speed, but because of a nightmare security system. The immobilizer and tracker were so unreliable that even he struggled to start the car. A Ford GT was incredible, but when your own car won't let you drive it, that's a deal breaker. Now, here's a car that Jeremy Clarkson both loves and hates, the 1984 Alfa Romeo GT V6. And if you know anything about Alfa Romeos, you probably understand why. They're beautiful, rare, and an absolute joy to drive when they actually work. Painted in a stunning red, this GT V6 came with a 2.5-liter V6 engine. And let's be honest, few cars sound as good as an old Alfa V6 at full throttle. Clarkson picked one up for just 8,000 pounds, and while that might sound like a bargain, Alfa ownership is rarely that simple. As he once put it, this car was the best and worst he ever owned. Why? Well, Alfas are famous for their incredible driving feel, but also for their incredible ability to break down. They're temperamental, but that's what makes them special. And with only 22,000 GT V6 models ever made, they're getting rarer by the day. Clarkson actually bought the exact one he drove in the Grand Tours Scotland episode, bringing Alfa Romeo back into his garage. And despite the headaches, he wouldn't have it any other way. If there's one car that demands attention, it's the Mercedes S-LSA MG Roadster. And yes, Clarkson had one. Right away, the long hood, low stance, and aggressive styling made it clear this was no ordinary Mercedes. It packed a 6.2-liter naturally aspirated V8, pumping out a massive 563 horsepower and 479 pound-feet of torque. The result? A 0 to 97 kilometers per hour time of just 3.7 seconds, and a sound so loud it could probably set off car alarms a block away. Clarkson absolutely loved it. He called it the greatest car on earth, and even dubbed it the thinking man's supercar, because it wasn't just about raw speed, it had precision and balance too. But what really set it apart? That AMG exhaust note, deep, growling, and downright addictive. Only 2,764 SLS AMG Roadsters were ever made, making it a rare beast. Eventually, Clarkson moved on, but it's safe to say this was one of the most thrilling cars he ever owned. Would you have let it go? Next, Jeremy Clarkson isn't just a car guy, he's a British car guy. So of course, an Aston Martin Virage had to find its way into his garage. It's got the luxury, the power, and the kind of presence that makes people stop and stare. But here's the thing, not many people talk about it. By the way, if you're enjoying this video so far, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. That way, you'll never miss out on more insane car collections and epic automotive stories, just like this one. So, this beauty comes with a 6-liter V12, pushing out 490 horsepower and 570 Newton meters of torque. That's enough to launch it from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in just 4.6 seconds, with a top speed of 300 kilometers per hour. It's fast, it's smooth, and it's got that effortless performance Aston Martin is known for. Clarkson saw its true charm. To him, this was an underrated masterpiece, a car that blended power and sophistication in a way that few others could. So, what do you think? Is it a hidden gem or a forgotten misfire? Either way, Clarkson made sure it had a home in his collection. Jeremy Clarkson's Mini Cooper wasn't just any Mini, it was a vintage classic, the kind you'd instantly recognize thanks to its iconic presence in the Mr. Bean show. This little British car was a legend, staying in production from 1959 to 2000. But what makes Clarkson's Mini even more special? It was a gift from his daughter. That's not just a car, it's a sentimental treasure. Given how the Mini name has evolved into even an electric version today, it's clear this car is more than just nostalgia, it's history on wheels. While it might not have the raw power of his other cars, this one holds a special place in his heart. If there's one thing Clarkson loves, it's a wild, overpowered machine, and the Mercedes-Benz CLK 63 AMG Black Series was exactly that. This wasn't just another fast car, it was brutal, loud, and borderline terrifying. With its 6.2-liter V8, aggressive styling, and razor-sharp handling, this thing was a race car disguised as a street-legal coupe. Clarkson once said driving it felt like balancing on a knife edge. One second you're grinning ear to ear, the next, you're wondering if you'll make it out alive. But what made it special? Despite all the madness, it still had air conditioning and a comfortable ride, making it an insane yet oddly usable daily driver. But as much as he adored it, he eventually had to say goodbye. In 2015, Clarkson tweeted, "Sad day, I just sold my AMG Black." Fans were shocked, some heartbroken, others wondering if he was having financial troubles. But he wasn't. He just moved on, probably to something even crazier. Would you ever let go of a beast like this? Clarkson did, but not without a little regret. Now, Jeremy Clarkson isn't the kind of guy to buy a supercar just because it's fast. It has to be special. And in February 2024, he dropped 308,000 pounds on a McLaren 750S Spider. So what made him choose this one? One thing, Clarkson loves speed, but he also appreciates usability. Unlike some supercars that feel like they're punishing you for driving them, the 750S is actually civilized. His words, not mine. He praised it for being comfortable in daily driving, easy to park, and smooth in comfort mode, all while still delivering insane performance. And when we say insane, we mean it. The 750S Spider rockets from 0 to 124 miles per hour in just 7.3 seconds. That's faster than most cars can hit 60. Plus, it's the last McLaren to feature a V8, making it even more special. Sure, it doesn't have the screaming V10s or V12s of the past, but it still delivers that signature McLaren thrill. However, Jeremy Clarkson isn't just about loud, brutal supercars. Sometimes, he likes to ride in absolute luxury. And that's exactly what the Bentley Flying Spur delivers. Think of it as a 5-star hotel on wheels, but with the power of a muscle car. Step inside, and you're met with hand-stitched leather, polished wood veneers, and an infotainment system that feels more like a high-tech command center. But let's be real, this isn't just about looking fancy. This thing moves. Under the hood, there's a 4-liter twin-turbo V8, pumping out 542 horsepower, launching it from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in just over 4 seconds. And if that's not enough, Bentley also offers a W12 engine with 626 horsepower, because why settle for anything less? Of course, all this elegance and power doesn't come cheap. Prices start at $230,000. But for Clarkson, it's worth every penny. And finally, Jeremy Clarkson has driven some of the fastest cars on the planet, but few impressed him like the Lamborghini Gallardo Spider. In fact, he loved it so much after test driving it on Top Gear that he went ahead and bought one. That alone tells you this car is something special. It's not just about the looks, though with its sharp angles and aggressive stance, it's impossible to ignore. The real magic happens under the skin. Power comes from a 5.2-liter V10, delivering a thrilling 550 horsepower and 540 Newton-meters of torque. With its 6-speed automated manual transmission, it launches from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in just 3.4 seconds and tops out at a blistering 309 kilometers per hour. But what really sold Clarkson on the Gallardo Spider? It's not just fast, it's alive. The sound, the handling, the drama. Every drive feels like an event. It's the kind of car that makes even a quick trip feel like a high-speed adventure. And for Clarkson, that's exactly what a Lamborghini should be. So, while covering every car in Clarkson's collection would take forever, these are some of the most notable ones. If you could take home just one car from Clarkson's collection, which one would it be and why? Drop your pick in the comments. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss out on more incredible car collections and automotive stories. More exciting content is on the way. Stay tuned.